And we are live.
Woohoo!
Stephen Hubbard has shown a severe lack of good judgment and has decided to come on to our show.
And he's
Stephen,
not even drunk. Well done.
I know. I know you have a book that you want to show us. I'm hoping that you still stay on after you show the book, but we'll see.
Oh.
So what book do you have for us?
Well, I have this book here, Conspiracy of Ravens, which is my debut fantasy novel.
That's what they should call it, Group of Ravens. That would be much better.
What's that?
That would be better if they called Ravens. Is that what they call a group of ravens?
No,
murder. Yeah.
It's a murder of crows, isn't it?
Murder of Crows, A Conspiracy of Ravens.
Okay.
There
so it is what they call it. All right, good. Well done, you.
Well, it was funny that you say that. I kind of stumbled into that. The main characters in this story are assassins and thieves, and they are an organization known as Ravens.
Okay.
And just one day I was looking up, what kind of stuff can I use with Ravens? It had a different title originally, and then I stumbled on Conspiracy of Ravens. I'm like, wow, that works on like two different levels.
Nice.
Because it's a group of ravens, but it also implies what's going to be happening through the book, which is these ravens are conspiring to overthrow the queen.
Plus, it just sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. I didn't have a problem with that either.
And I think I have to say for the record, you have the coolest background of anyone I think we've talked to so far.
Well, I appreciate that. This is mostly the kindness of my wife, who this used to be just a bonus room that had a bunch of stuff in it, and she turned it into an office and bought me all these nice shelves, and we filled them up, and so
That's
I have
the
to
funnest
thank her
part,
for
right?
that. Yes, she gets all the credit for that.
Funnest part is filling up the shelves.
Well, I had a lot to begin with, but they are getting even more full now. So
Excellent.
So,
How long? Sorry, what? That's not your first book, is it?
it is. That is my debut novel.
Oh, right. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you had that knocking around in your head? We'll get to you.
How long
Mike.
have I? Oh my gosh.
Sorry, man.
This has been knocking around in my head since 1985.
Holy hell! Wow. It's old enough to drink that idea twice.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I've always been inclined to storytelling. I've always wanted to be a writer. I've always done a lot creative things. I've written things on my own. Around my 13th birthday, I got a D&D set, which fuels the imagination even more. So you get lost in those worlds. And D&D, playing with a couple of the guys from school who helped create some of these characters that got life further extended through the book. But it's just one of those things where everything about life just kind of got in the way. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have waited so long to do it. But you have situations in your life that just get in the way, and things happen, and then stuff gets put aside, and then eventually you just get to the point where enough's enough and you do it.
So what did you do in the interim between 1985 and putting out Conspiracy of Ravens?
What did I do in the interim? Well, I moved a lot. I finished high school. I moved from New York to Texas. I moved from Texas to Minnesota. I moved from Minnesota to Florida. I moved from Florida to Minnesota. I moved all over the Twin Cities area of Minnesota. Got married, got divorced, got remarried, had kids along the way. And there was a vast majority of those years were years where I was dealing with the effects of a lot of undiagnosed depression. And a lot of that fed into the inability to put anything down. Nothing's going to be good enough. This isn't going to work. I still have all kinds of notes and things that I've written over the years, which all worked as springboards for what actually went in the book. But none of that stuff wholesale went in. You know, looking back at that stuff, you can see it wasn't good enough, but it was great notes for getting me where I wanted to get with this. So
sounds like a first draft.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And as far as I don't know if it was the Depression saying, "Oh, this isn't good enough," whatever. I think that's just, par for the course for all of us.
Well, yeah, that personal editor, but when your personal editor is a real jerk who doesn't like anything you do, then
no, okay.
it tends to be a kick in the teeth pretty much every day. But we're past that, and we're doing real good.
So, what was the inciting incident that put you over the edge to say, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this, and then put it out?
Well, again, broken record. I got to thank my wife for this. So the job that I was in, we had undergone some changes, and we got a new manager that had come into the area and was doing a lot of things, wanted daily reports on this, daily reports on that. All day long, you have to report to me what you're doing, when you're doing it, and why you're doing it. Very micromanaged type of thing, and I'm not up for that. Like, I'm a grown man. I don't need to have a parent that I need to talk to every 10 minutes when I want to do something. So I talked to my wife. I said, look, this has gotten to the point where it's just not tenable anymore. She said, I'll call you back. She was gone for a little while. She called me back up. She goes, I did the analysis. I looked things over. You can quit. So I quit. I came home. The next week, I just sat down, and every day I just had a word count, and I just hit it every day. A month and a half later, book was done. Went back through it again, hired an editor, got an editor to go through it. And the rest is history up to this point.
Nice. That's an odd way of getting to becoming a full-time writer, but it got you there in the end, so that's all right.
Yeah, nothing about the road was a normal way, I suppose, but it got me finally to this area where I want to be, and I'm very pleased with how it turned out. So,
yeah, nice.
So, book 2, when is that coming out?
Book 2,
man, let him enjoy book 1.
No, well, book 1's been a while, so book 2 is in the works. It's coming to the end. It's going to be in my editor's hands next month. I've got alpha readers that are already going through it now, and we're looking at an October 31st date.
Nice.
Halloween.
It's a second one in this same series.
Correct. Yeah, it's pretty much going to pick up the exact same night that the first one ends.
Sorry,
Do you have a title for it?
Hold on. We've lost everything that was said in the last 10 seconds.
That's okay. You asked me the title.
Yeah.
The title for book 2 is called A Plague of Ghosts.
Nice. So, and you said coming out in October, and it's a trilogy? Is that what you told me before?
Well, it's going to be longer than that. All mapped out the way it is currently. We're looking at it. It's 9 books. So
9 books, a trilogy of trilogies.
Yes, that's with some offshoots off of there. So
you're going to be playing in this world for a very long time.
I am. Well, it's already been living in my head for a very long time, and now everyone else should get to see it too.
You got. I'm just looking at your list of reviews here on Conspiracy of Ravens, and I'm just going to read this one out loud. It's very short. Seems to be a bit of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and Star Wars all mixed. That's freaking awesome.
I'm perfectly happy with that type of designation.
Right? I mean, anybody would take that.
Yeah, like I said, like I got into, like, my original inspiration wanting to be a writer was seeing Star Wars in the theater as a little kid.
Yep.
Like, I remember going to the theater, and it was so packed you had to wait in line for the next showing to get in. And just being a little kid, especially at the beginning, and watching that Star Destroyer come across the screen at the beginning, it just keep going and going. Like,
you see it at a drive-in, so it was like 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that movie really woke up my brain to storytelling. And then 3rd grade, I found The Hobbit in the school library. And I read that, just devoured it.
That's a gateway drug.
Yeah, for sure. and then that was followed up with the Rankin Bass animated movie. And then Chronicles of Narnia was right after that. And then it was that I found The Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
And then I was lost forever. Like, there was no coming back. And followed that up for 7th grade. The summer between 6th and 7th grade is when I found Stephen Donaldson and the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant.
Yep.
And reading that was the moment where I said, okay, this guy took what Tolkien did, but he did it different. And I want to do what he does. And so that was the period where I knew being a writer was really what I wanted.
It took you a while, but you got there.
It did. And then, I wound my way here. Writing all through all that time, just not in the way that probably would have been the most successful use of time.
I'm going to ask you a question that I'm afraid of what the answer is going to be and what it's going to do to this show for the next 5 minutes. But could you half stand up, please?
Sure. I did this just for you.
Nice.
That is wrong in about 100 different ways.
See, I disagree. I think Jar Jar is highly underestimated.
Please.
I was going to say, you got to elaborate.
Enlighten us.
So I can't say as I'm given to all of the Darth Jar Jar stuff like that, but for me, now first of all, I totally understand why people are annoyed with Jar Jar and how he can grate on people. That's fine. You can't control that. But for me, in looking at Jar Jar, particularly the arc that he had, he's the one that leads to the downfall. And he's manipulated by people in power. And he's the perfect amalgamation of innocent people thinking they're doing the right thing, being manipulated by people who behind the scenes have the worst interest of everyone involved. And for that reason alone, I thought he was perfectly done. He was the innocence of the entire series. He represented the good that was going to be lost.
You think the Jedis are the bad guys?
No, I don't think they're the bad guys. He was manipulated
by the Jedi.
Not so much by them, but Palpatine very much convinced him how brilliant it would be to concede power to him, in unifying power in him. And he's the one that called for the vote to get that to happen. No, I don't go with the theory that the Jedi were bad. I think, like anything, they were a little misguided in some spots, but no, I don't see it. For as annoying as Jar Jar can be, and yes, I understand he's annoying. I thought he was a great representation of the downfall of the innocent civilians and the population at large under the manipulation of politicians who only have themselves in mind.
See, damn it. Now you made me kind of actually think that maybe.
Yes.
Nice. I still don't like him, but I mean, you made him a little bit more sympathetic at least.
That's but that's the point, right? Like, people still hate him, but I do have sympathy for him because he wasn't smart enough to see what they were doing to him.
So, Ro, next year for your birthday, I'm going to get somebody we can interview who will do the Jar Jar Binks voice the entire time.
That would be freaking brilliant.
Niece, I like it.
I don't know if I could listen to that for an hour.
Ooh.
All right.
So
the reviews are great. Let's just read through a few of them. So what's your book? What's it about?
Well, story-wise, it is 3 assassins who have been in the employ of the Queen, and the book actually begins with one of them inadvertently murdering the son of a prominent royal.
I hate it when that happens.
And he's shaken by this. And this is a guy who has lived his life getting paid to kill people. And this has now shaken him. This was not what was intended. And there's another child that he rescues, and he takes her to be protected. And the Queen and several other people are trying to find the girl. And there's another new figure who arrives named the Shrike, is what he goes by. Not a very nice guy. And he wants this girl back. And he's going to torment everybody he can until he finds her. And he claims that he is working and speaking for a new master who is coming. But nobody knows who this new master is, of course. So it's basically a story of protecting this girl and trying to overthrow the Queen, who led this charge to begin with her contract on the Baron's life. And things don't always go as planned, as you would expect. And thematically, the question that gets asked is, for these 3 guys who've led pretty dark lives, is there a way for somebody on a path that has been that dark to redeem themselves? And that's what they're hoping for, is redemption. And
So
I believe protecting the girl is the first step in doing that, and overthrowing the Queen is the second step in doing that.
Your protagonist is kind of an anti-hero then?
For now.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely a dark person. But one thing I think that's really important, like I'm all fine with like grimdark and people just being the most horrible of the horrible. I don't have a problem with that. I've read things like that, and I certainly get entertainment out of them. But for me, particularly in this particular branch of story that I'm looking at, is for as dark as things are, hope that there's some light and that you can get there. Otherwise, it's just darkness and chaos and murder and blood. And while that might be entertaining and enjoyable for some, that's ultimately not the story that I want to tell. Now, it doesn't mean everything's going to turn out all hunky-dory in the end and everybody gets what they want and things are beautiful. There's got to be trials and tribulations along the way. But it's going to be a dark road for a while.
So I'm kind of going under the assumption here that you are a planner in your writing.
I would say I'm kind of a half and half in terms of planning and just kind of pantsing it. I have key points. There are things I already know, like all the way through all the books. I've already got the main storylines laid out. But you got to remember, this has been in my brain since 1985. So it's been gelling in there for a long, long time.
And that's really impressive too, because, you know, a lot of the stuff that's been in my brain since 1985 has long ago turned to dust. You know.
Well, luckily I wrote a lot of it down. You know,
Oh.
even on, like there's some stuff I have on napkins. I mean, it's just someplace you happen to be, and it's just something hits you, and you just jot it down. Some stuff I've had to get rid of. I can't even read it, so I've had to get rid of it. But I do have major plot points laid out. But how I get from one to the other, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I follow the adventure. I let them take me where they're going.
So you know how this thing is going to end in book 9?
Yes.
All right. And how long do you think it'll take to get you there?
If I can stick to my current plan going forward, it'll take a good number of years.
like you know, a book a year, good number of years, or George R. R. Martin number of years?
No, we are definitely not going George route. So my original plan was book a year. That got delayed for some family reasons and some health reasons over the last year and a half, which have all been rectified and everything's good. So what I'm looking at now is I've got book 2 is winding up now. We're going to get that done. Then I've got book 3 that I'm working on. I've already got groundwork for book 3 laid out. Plus I have what I call a legacy novel that is a spin-off. It's basically a legend set in this same world, just from the past. And I'm hoping to do both of those next year. And so I'm looking to do 2 a year. It may or may not always be 2 in this series. But yeah, thanks, Gabe. But it will be world adjacent, if nothing else. So
this is totally up, but Bubby Hockey here reminded me, you're the Flyers fan, right?
I am.
How does that go down in Minnesota?
You know, it's not that bad. They're an Eastern team. Minnesota's a Western team. They only play each other twice a year.
Okay.
There's no real rivalry there, so nobody cares. I go to the Wild games when the Flyers are here. I wear my Flyers gear. Nobody ever says anything. It's, you know, but I was a Wild season ticket holder for the first 10 years they were here. So, you know, I support the home team, just not when they play in Philly.
That's fair.
The only team I never support is Pittsburgh. I can't.
No, there's no reason to.
Being a Flyer fan, I can't support Pittsburgh. There's just no way.
If you've got all your books planned out through 9 books right now, and it's going to take you 5 to 10 years to get them all done, are you working with whoever did your art for your current book to have them do all of those now? Or are you going to roll the dice on that?
That might be tough. I don't have them all titled, so you know, hopefully she'll be around. If she gives me a heads up, I might scramble, try to get them done. But you know, and it's funny that you mentioned that because Mandy, who did my cover, which I absolutely love the cover. I fell in love with
it back up again.
Give
it a few seconds up there. Let people take a good look at it.
Nice. That's an awesome cover.
I have gotten nothing but incredibly positive comments from everyone that sees it. Like, that's an awesome cover. That's a great cover. I love that cover. And I couldn't be happier with that. So she did a great job. She's already done the book 2 cover for me. That's actually getting revealed on the 22nd of this month. Jody at the Witty and Sarcastic Book Club, I did an interview with her, and she's going to be posting that interview, and she's going to be doing the cover reveal on her blog for that. So,
well, when you put it out on Twitter or whatever, tag us, and we'll pass it on as well.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and I will do that for sure.
So, how do you? I mean, as a permanent writer, is job now. Have you had to get into the advertising side of things to make the needle move?
I'll tell you, I've dabbled in the advertising. Now, originally, up until just a couple of months ago, everything was strictly on Amazon. I went directly through them. It was the easiest way. It was the least confusing way. And in a lot of ways, it was the most cost-effective way. They make it very easy. You're just beholden to them 100%. I know I did lose some people because they won't deal with Amazon. They don't want anything to do with Amazon. I know I lost some people because I didn't do an audiobook, which I kind of cringe at, but again, it's a cost thing. I was talking with Mike about this earlier, but it's always in the background as a possibility. But I did dabble with Amazon ads and things like that, and for the clicks you get through, boy, you sure can draw some attention. They just don't turn into sales.
Right.
That's been the trick. And I know there's people out there that can really do it up, and they do it great. I'm just not there yet. Maybe it'll get easier when you have a couple other books, and you can show a pattern of having a track record of turning some things out on a pretty consistent basis. That's one of the tricks now, particularly in the sci-fi and fantasy world. If you're doing series of any kind, which most fantasy people are, because readers want to get lost in worlds, they're kind of burned by some of the authors that aren't putting their stuff out on time. I've literally had people tell me, I will not buy or read your book until the whole thing is done.
Yeah,
me too.
And that's a great disservice. It's
sure.
And I can get the frustration for that. I certainly understand where that comes from. As a reader, I get frustrated by that too. But the damage that can do for a writer trying to, make a buck and tell a story and get some support, seeing people interested, that's what a sale is. It's showing interest in your work. When they don't do that because of being burned, it really hampers your ability to push forward.
The number of people who are I'm going to wait until your whole series is done. I don't think it's that many. I think a lot of people who say it are just giving you an excuse not to buy it, right? Because they're just not willing to pull the wallet out at that point. And
sure.
that's an excuse that kind of gets them through the day.
Especially the last couple of years, I get it. Like not everyone has the expendable cash, and I've tried to keep it priced pretty decent. I don't I'm not charging $12.99 for an ebook or anything like that, but one of the nice things, it was interesting to me, I was talking with Mike about this earlier too, is that I expected the ebook stats to go through the roof, but I actually sold more physical copies than I have digital.
And you sold them through Amazon, the physical?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry. It's like when you start going to shows or whatever and out in person doing it, and Mike knows this very well. And people come up and they'll talk to you and you'll give them the spiel, whatever, and they'll go, yeah, let me, I'll come back. It's like, oh, you won't.
Right.
That's fine. You're under no obligation to buy anything here, man. Just don't do that. Just say, oh,
Thank you.
yeah, right. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Like, you've got to have thick skin to do this to begin with. So, like, you're going to get a lot of no's. So, just say no. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
And even if your book is objectively, by most people's standards, very good, you're going to get people who don't like it. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I've had a couple of 1 stars. Nobody wrote reviews, so you have no idea what it was that turned them off. But people like what they like, and they don't like what they don't like, and you can't really control that. You can't write a book that everybody's going to love.
And there's no better example, really, of people's taste coming into question than the fact that we get a dozen people show up for this show 3 times a week, and I don't know what they're thinking about.
So
yeah, I could understand if we were getting them all from like the same IP address of some hospital for the bedridden or something, But
there's a market there. You look into that.
That's right. We should, yeah. Go and talk to the nurses and say, here, turn it to this.
You're providing a service.
Yeah, they're captive audiences. It's not like they're going to get up and change.
Right.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, that's an idea.
Just sign them up and subscribe them and leave YouTube on 3 times a week.
There you go.
So Stephen, you are a book reviewer also, correct?
Yes.
Who do you review books for, and how did you start doing this?
And how can we get you a copy?
Yeah. That is the next question that I was going to tell you.
It's all about Mike and I.
Yes, yeah, I understand. I write reviews for bookreporter.com. I've been writing for them, since 2004. And basically how it happened was it was pure happenstance. I was looking around for reviews of a particular book, and I couldn't find it. And I found their website, and I looked around, and I noticed that there was almost no sci-fi fantasy at all on their site. And so I just sent an email out. I was like, I just happened to pop in, and I noticed you don't really have any sci-fi fantasy reviews at all. Like, you've got mystery, and you've got general fiction, and you've got history, but you don't have sci-fi fantasy. I'm wondering if there's a reason why. Like, are you just not up for that? Like, is it not your niche? You don't want that? Or, you've got some particular aversion to it or whatever. And a day or two later, I got an email back from Carol, who was the president of Book Reporter. And she says, the only reason we don't have anybody have any reviews for sci-fi fantasy is there isn't anybody that does it. Do you want to try?
Nice.
And so they had me write up a review for a book and send it in, and kind of like my test to see how it went. And they seemed to like it. And so I've been doing their sci-fi fantasy stuff for 20 years now.
Right. Awesome. And it's just something that, and what's the name of it again?
Bookreporter.com.
So how many reviews do you do in a month or a year or week, whatever?
Well, it's really gone down since a lot of my time is devoted to writing. I don't read as much as I used to or would want to. Most recently I did Jasper Ford's newest book. I did that last month, and I also did the new Jeff Sharrock book, which was fantastic. And then right now I'm doing Peter Beagle's new book, I'm Afraid You Have Dragons, which, of course, Peter's awesome, so he's fantastic. But I'd say on the average, I do about 1 a month now. And sometimes I go a month or 2 without doing any. It really depends on what's on the review list and what's available and what my time looks like.
We'll let you answer EL's question here real quick, and then I've got one for you. Hopefully, I
Do I
remember.
prefer ebook, print, or Audible? I am a print guy, as you can probably tell. My library is pretty vast. I have nothing at all against digital. I do enjoy ebooks quite a bit. What I find I do with a lot of books now is I will buy the hardcover. I'm infinitely more of a hardcover guy than a paperback. I like the longevity of hardcovers. But I will also buy the ebook. And I will utilize the hardcover book during my daytime reading at home. And I will utilize the ebook reading at night when I'm in bed, because then I don't have to have a light on and disturb my wife. Or when I'm sitting in the rink between periods at my daughter's hockey game, as opposed to lugging around the hardcover. I'll just take the ebook with me.
All right, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
One real quick, and it goes back to one of our guests a couple days ago. Quick yes or no. You don't have to go into depth in this. If someone says they're Canadian but doesn't like hockey or skate or play hockey, can they really be Canadian?
No.
Okay. We'll get that cleared
They're
up.
Canadian in name only.
And have you thought of doing what so many people do now? And I think there's always room for more people doing it, is setting up your shingle as a YouTube book reviewer and doing what you do for Book Reporter for indie authors in the space.
It is, I cannot say it is not out of the realm of my scope. I've considered it. It's a question of time. Particularly once we get into the fall. I've got two young kids here. They play tennis. I got one playing hockey. It's, the others in musicals and stage production and stuff. So I end up being very mobile a lot. So it cuts into my time. Plus, now going forward, wanting to have 2 books a year, it's going to be a hefty time commitment. But I do think it would be very interesting. Again, the only real concern that I've ever had with doing anything like that is it's pretty saturated. Like there's so many online, the booktubers and all of that.
There's a lot of writers too, right? And
there are.
I don't think, obviously there's so many more books coming out than there are available spaces for YouTubers who review books to get them, right? And I think there's probably a lot of very good books that don't get that kind of, don't get shown.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I was pleased with, particularly with this SPFNO idea, is that, it's getting attention in the publishing world is already difficult.
Yeah.
It's twice as difficult when you're self-publishing.
Yeah.
Because you're competing for eyeballs against all of the other self-published people in your space, plus all of the traditionally published people in your space. And the traditionally published people really tend to get the majority of the eyeballs, as you would expect, right?
Sure.
The idea that there were you guys and then Jody, from Witty and Sarcastic, contacting me about doing an interview, the notion of giving time and visibility to indie publishers, I think is fantastic. And so the idea of having a BookTube review type channel for indie people is not one that's a bad idea. Whether I'm the right person to do that might be another question. I am wearing a Jar Jar shirt, so, but it's certainly something that I've thought of. I have thought of doing YouTube stuff before. I've just not pulled the trigger on that at all. But
You would need more books.
The idea of something, to give more attention to indie authors, because there is some really good indie stuff out there that deserves some attention too. And it would be nice to have a corner for that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let us know when you start.
I will.
We'll send some mail your way.
I can turn the tables and I can have you guys on, and you guys can have to answer my questions.
Oh, EL, tell us what we missed.
Oh, the onslaught will begin.
That's all right.
Questions.
So while we wait, we have not asked a silly question yet.
I've been preparing for this.
I didn't know that you could. Okay, so here's the scenario.
A scenario.
You take your main character to Walmart.
Oh Lord.
As you do.
You get a basket, and when you turn back, your main character is gone. Where did he go, and what is he doing?
He's probably killing somebody.
Well, you got to be more specific. Is it one of the people of Walmart he's killing? Is he killing a manager?
That is an interesting question.
Thank you. Normally, I have to say that.
He's definitely killing somebody. He's probably killing that person that insists you show them your receipt after you did the job of ringing everything up yourself.
That's justified.
So that's probably where he is.
Can you give an elbow in the face to the guy that says, "Hello, welcome to Walmart"?
Oh, the greeter for sure.
Oh.
Absolutely. He's not a people person, really. He'll stick to the shadows.
Okay, now EL has to bring it back to somewhat serious.
See, EL is under the impression that we do this for a living. And that we're breaking rules of journalistic norms by not asking you these obvious questions.
What draws me to Assassin? Well, for me in this particular instance was too dark is when you can't see. Then it's too dark. But the notion of having assassins was I wanted people who were kind of in the most ruthless, darkest, lowest possible area you could be. Like it doesn't get more questionable than having an assassin. Like that's pretty low bar. And the idea of trying to find a way towards redemption, and is there a way to right what are the wrongs that you have done, even though when you were doing them and what you were doing, you didn't think that they were wrong in those moments. But now you've come to an understanding based on, particularly for our main character, this event where he accidentally kills the child. How do you come back from that? Is there a way that you can redeem yourself for that?
Alcohol.
Well, yeah,
But I mean, you did it accidentally, right? It's not like
it was accidentally, but
walked into a preschool for Jedi and slaughtered them all.
Right. It was not on purpose, but
That was Darth Jar Jar.
When you know more about him as revealed through the book, you understand why the death of this child affected him so greatly. But a lot of this is going to play up too in the second book. So the notion of a plague of ghosts is, I had somebody ask me, is about, necromancers and things like that. It's like, no.
His conscience?
It's more of the fact that, like, through my life, I've suffered a good number of losses in terms of people I know who've passed away. And family members and friends and things like that. And I thinking about this, it's like when you go through those things, and when people you are very close to and people you care about are gone, you're changed. You're not exactly the same person you were before. And there's this notion that these people are ghosts now. They're not here. But as they discuss in book 2, like, it's more of the notion that you can become so changed by the losses that you've had that you're actually the ghost. You've lost so much of yourself in losing these people that you're not who you were before, and you are changed forever. And that is the plague of ghosts. Everybody alive in that world, going about their day, they are ghosts. They are no longer the full people they've been.
Yep. So EO has another question for you. Do you see a difference between murder and assassination?
Well, yes and no. You could certainly make arguments that they're entirely different things. But ultimately, they both involve the intentional taking of life.
Yep.
Usually of somebody very specific. There's a reason why you're going after this one specific person and you are ending them. Murder, assassination, I mean, it's the same side of the same blade. Two different sides of the same blade. So it's,
I would think murder would be an emotional thing, where assassination would be a purely kind of material.
And there certainly is that. Although I'm sure you can find plenty of murderers who had no feeling or emotion whatsoever in doing what they're doing. But yes, that point is certainly valid. And that would be true for him, is that up until this moment, he doesn't give a second thought to anything that he's been asked to do.
Somebody was just looking for your book title. When you do punch your name in Amazon, you get a lot of Ron Hubbard.
So, Stephen, are you ready to enter the bulb dome? We haven't done this in a while.
What, do I have to take my hair off?
No. So I'm going to roll a bunch of dice. Your main character has been transported to a gladiatorial arena, where he must combat an opponent.
Okay.
The laws and physics of your world still hold.
Okay.
And there are a couple choices to make, and then you get to tell us, how does this end? Are you ready?
Well, first I need to know which dice you're rolling. Are we doing 4s, 10s, 20s, 12s, 8s?
I have 5 20-sided dice and 1 12-sided die.
Very nice. Okay.
So what is your main character's name?
Kelnor.
Okay, Kelnor is going in the bulb dome.
We really got to get you a girlfriend, Mike.
So the arena is a floating island suspended in the sky.
As they are.
Let's see here. Got that one.
Is it floating or
floating?
Okay.
So he is given a potion of unknown use. It's a blue fizzy potion, but all the potions are blue and fizzy. So you don't know what it is. He can choose to use it on himself or his opponent, or not at all.
Okay.
So now you get a choice. He doesn't have any weapons with him. He gets his choice. He can have a regular item that he can use as a weapon, or he can have a legitimate medieval weapon. Which does he choose? If he chooses medieval weapon, he fights a fantasy creature. If he chooses a regular item, he faces an animal. So which would your assassin choose?
Well, he's gonna have to go with daggers.
No, you get to choose. He gets either a regular item to use or else he gets a weapon that I've rolled for. But you don't know what it is until you decide.
Oh, well, roll for it. Let's just go all
I
out.
did. I did,
Okay.
but you don't get to know what it is until after you pick, and then I tell you what you chose.
We're gonna take the rolled one. We're gonna live on the edge here and see what we got.
Give him what's behind door number 2, Mike.
So are you choosing regular item or the weapon? You said weapon?
Yep.
Okay, he is getting a pole axe.
Okay.
Just what every assassin wants is a
Yes,
giant freaking
Exactly
pole
what
axe.
they want.
If he'd chosen a regular item, he would have got 2 pewter plates. So you probably did good on that.
Okay.
So instead of fighting a hyena, he now must face a venomous manticore.
Well,
Body
that's
of a
not-
lion, wings of a bat, tail of and poisonous spines. So how does this go with Kelvar with a pole axe versus a manticore?
Drink the
Tell me
potion.
about the island.
What's that?
Tell me about this floating island.
It's a floating island. Let's see, a floating island suspended in the sky.
Large,
That is the exact.
rocky, like, what are we talking about here?
It's
Give
rocky.
me your Tolkien-esque description.
So it is a
Mike doesn't
suspended.
do adjectives.
It's a suspended upside down mountain with the flat part facing up, and that has dirt and grass and trees and what have you. So
Okay.
it's a floating hobbiton.
Okay. Very nice. Very tranquil. Perfect place for a battle. Now, you said the rules of my world exist?
Yes. So what happens with Kelvar with his pole axe versus the manticore? Paint us a picture.
Well, since the rules of my world exist,
Yes.
Kelnor would wield wild magic,
Okay.
and he would ensnare the manticore in tree roots, and then he would lop his head off.
Okay. As a pole axe would be nice for doing so. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And no one ever drinks the potion. I've done this like 4 or 5 times, and no one ever
We're
drinks.
going to drink the potion because you don't tell them.
Well, you got a chance of giving it to your opponent. Then it's
Here,
50-50.
drink this stuff that smells and looks suspiciously like bleach.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything suspicious like that. He's not taking risks like that.
So the potion, had you drank it, was a potion of dexterity that grants the drinker ability to dodge all attacks for 5 minutes.
Nice. Would
But
have been helpful.
he just gets to take that home as a present for winning the Bald Dome Challenge.
It could come in handy in the future.
No one's
So-
ever going to drink that, Mike.
I know. That's what I'm hoping. If it's some weak person who gets 2 pewter plates and they have no choice,
Now,
then
what if
I'm
you
hoping.
change the color? Like if the potion had been green, I might have gone for it.
So you're saying green potion is more advantageous. What about clear?
For me, I would have been more interested.
Green is the animal kingdom color for poison.
Yes.
And your boy would
But
have
that
drunk.
would be too obvious.
That would be what?
That would be too obvious.
Bro, it would be inconceivable.
That's right. That's right. Somebody did mention that you were a Vicini the other day, didn't they?
Yeah.
Awesome. That are inconceivable for the day. Now I'm happy.
Ooh. So while we have a second, I'm going to take this opportunity just to remind the people who are watching that if we get to 500 subs by the end of the year, I will get this tattoo. So tell your friends.
We're up in the 260s right now.
What's that?
So we're in the 260s right now.
Yeah, so we got a little work to do.
Just over halfway.
So, well, we had 75 on January 1, so we need to pick up the pace a little bit. But anyway, that is what we're going for. I will get that tattoo if we get to 500 by the end of the year. And if we get to 750, I'll have a couple goats on the other side nibbling on the hair too. I got a big canvas there.
Goats. That's awesome.
Really, with the goats? Yeah.
I got a very big canvas, lots of space there to put stuff in.
Okay.
And it's only going to get bigger as I get older.
You want, and I could do some locks of love here for you, and we can get that set up.
Excellent. All right, you want to hold up your book one more time, Stephen?
One more time, okay.
And do you have a website?
I don't. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay. Well,
So,
Conspiracy of Ravens, so look it up on Amazon. It's got wonderful reviews.
Available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook.
And
the
book
ebook
2
is now available everywhere.
Nice. And book 2 is going to be named again. Book 2 is going to be named again.
Book 2 is A Plague of Ghosts, and that will be coming October 31st.
On Halloween. What else would you rather do?
Well, I linked it up with ghosts. It seemed like a good day.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I have John's respect. So
There you go. Take it to the bank.
okay. Ro, do you have any more questions for our guest?
I don't, but I do want to remind people that we are off for the weekend. We will be back on the 16th of July.
That's
I think.
Tuesday?
Yep, with Corey McCullough, SPFNO, and then the 18th with Mars Everson, SPFNO, and then next Friday, the 19th, Fantasy Feud with the Break-Ins versus the Secret Scribes. Join us for that.
And the teams have been finalized, I've been told, but no one told me who's on the team. So, there might be a little communication issue, but we are ready. Ro is going to be the MC.
Nice.
And I'm going to be the disembodied voice from behind the veil.
You're going to tell them what they've won?
That's right.
Well, we're going to say that you win respect, but we don't really believe that.
You got to tell them, a case of turtle wax.
So, Stephen, I can't help but think you got off easy tonight, but we'll try to rectify that later.
I'm more than willing to go into the Bald Dome anytime.
But are you willing to drink the potion? That's really the question.
If it's green, I might.
Okay. The potions are now all green.
I'm looking forward to somebody drinking it at some point. So
That's the whole thing. I'm like, someone's going to drink the potion, and one time it's going to work, and one time it's going to be a disaster.
we're looking forward to the disaster.
So, well, Stephen, thank you again for wasting an hour of your time talking to us.
Well, I don't consider it a waste of time. I think this was absolutely great, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys having me come on here and talk about my book and other things, and it was a lot of fun, and if you ever want me back, I'm more than happy to come back and talk to you again.
I was going to say, next year you'll be a SPFBO author, not a SPFNO author, so.
That's right.
You never know. I might lose the lottery again.
But we're glad we gave you an opportunity to wear your Jar Jar shirt.
Yes, first time in 3 years with this thing.
That's enough.
Just I will only wear it when I'm on your show.
Nice. Can you come back next week?
Sure.
As Ro is frozen with the death glare.
No, this damn camera, I'm going to throw it away.
I don't have a Captain Janeway outfit, so I can't do that for you.
Oh, darn.
Well, that'll be 2 years from now, Ro. We'll have someone imitate Captain Janeway the whole time.
Maybe I'll get the outfit. Maybe I'll do it.
I'll get the wig.
All right.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
Stephen. And thank you, everybody who joined us tonight. Appreciate you hanging out with us for another hour.
Yep.
Hope to see you all
That'll
next
be
week.
our time. Everybody wave.
Bye,
And
guys.